A little over a month ago, TF2 turned 15 years old, having come out in 2007. To put that into perspective, that means TF2 came out before the Great Recession, Obama's presidency, and the assassination of Franz Ferdinand. With the amount of time TF2 has existed on God's green earth, it makes sense some content would slip through the cracks and never make it into the live game. Today, we will be looking at the post-launch content for TF2 that was left on the cutting room floor or completely removed from existence. Because diving into the pre-release state of TF2 is a deep enough rabbit hole I'll save for another time. So, we'll take a look at all of TF2's bizarre unreleased content and what could have been after the break. Are you tired of that dumb phone wasting space in your pocket? Wish you could do something cool with it other than watch The What show? Well, thanks to today's sponsor, you can have a AAA quality game right in your pocket. Introducing Raid Shadow Legends. With over 600 champions with unique skills and millions of combinations between them, you can tackle the various bosses, raids, and campaign missions in your own way. Use that little square of joy called a QR code to try for yourself. Raid also has elves. I love elves. Their pointed ears, short stature, affinity for gold, and grotesque appearance. Oh, hold on, wait, that's goblins. The elves in Raid live in the Kingdom of Aravia, and they're a hardy bunch, having survived orc rampages and the collapse of the Lizard Empire. But then this bonehead Suroth came in and converted enough elves into dark elves to start a nasty civil war. The bonehead dark elves got kicked out, but the elves came back better than ever and made Aravia the most rich and powerful country in Teleria. Raid is a great experience due to how portable and accessible the game is. On break? Raid. Feeling bored? Raid. Road trip with the boys? Raid. The game also receives plenty of content updates, so there's always something to look forward to. This is going to be a good month for Raid players too, because they released a whole new faction called the Sylvan Watchers, and they're pretty swag. They have a whole bunch of exciting new champions to play as too, as well as a new season of the Forge Pass to get luxurious booty and powerful items. Amazon Prime members will also receive exclusive rewards too. So if you're a new player to Raid, get out of your chair right now, do a quick stretch, sit back in your chair, and use the link or scan the QR code to get a free starter pack on the house with almost $30 worth of free stuff, including the champion Aina. You can find the rewards here in your inbox. Thanks for sponsoring my silly videos, Raid. Now, let's get back into the video. Let's start our dive into TF2's lost content by dipping our toes a little bit by talking about the scrapped animations for various characters. Some of the removed animations look like they could have been scrapped taunts, such as this unique scout animation. Other scrapped taunts have their remnants in the files still, with some being fairly standard while others are truly weird, such as this animation of Engineer puking his guts out, presumably at the sight of a medic unironically using the vaccinator. There's also these animations for Heavy and Soldier. Now, they're either showing off some sort of mysterious object or doing what I can only describe as look at you with abject disappointment. Something TikTok would shamelessly steal years later. Other animations exist too, such as a whole set of animations for burning to death that would play similarly to getting backstabbed or headshot. Some of these are really charming, such as Medic checking his pulse before kicking the bucket, or Engineer flailing around like a madman. A whole set of unused death animations also exist for the MVM robots too. I don't really understand why these aren't in the game. They're fluid looking and fit the tone of the game really well. My personal favorite of the bunch is the animation for the heavy robot getting headshot, which is just really funny looking to me. Other than scrapped animations, there exists various cosmetic items that were never released. One of these cosmetics is the Bonk in Flash, an early version of the Bonk Boy that was never released due to being a copyright lawsuit waiting to happen. Even though, years later, they added an item that ripped off the Flash's look even harder, so I guess Valve cares about copyright law as much as they care about TF2. I gotta say though, seeing an uncircumcised Bonk Boy feels incredibly cursed, and I much prefer the version we ended up getting as a result. So, thanks copyright law! Other cosmetics also made it into the game's files but were shelved last second due to unknown reasons. The IMPROV COONSKIN cap for Soldier was added into the game on October 21st, 2016, to be part of the Creepy Crawly case, but never actually made it into the game and was removed from the files 4 days later. Another last-second removal was the Pyro's mummy eyes intended for the Scream Fortress 2013 update. The item was added to the game and even featured in a promotional image for a Halloween bundle, staring very ominously from this crate like a creepy old guy from under a bridge. But yet again, for some unknown reason, this too was removed and any mention was scrubbed from the promotional image. The removal of these cosmetics is super confusing to me. Why go through all of the effort into adding these into the game, only to yoink them out at the last possible second? Other cut hats include a whole collection of Yeti Park themed hats intended for the Jungle Inferno update, and the ID badge, which should have functioned like a regular decal item, able to put any image you want on it. As far as the ID badge goes, it's probably for the best it was removed, because one last decal item in the game is one less opportunity for my eyes to be defiled by furry sandy cheeks with the this of a butt suck taxi cab with giant. Some of the most bizarre lost cosmetics come from a crossover with Dota 2. These Dota 2 cosmetics aren't lost because they were never added to the game or impossible to get, just that the means of unlocking them were so obscure, a single one has never been redeemed. The Clocksworks helm, Storm Spirit's Jolly hat, and Sniper's Sniping Glass were hats that were given to winners of a 2011 Dota 2 championship. However, as you can imagine, the crossover between professional MOBA Dota 2 players and casual FPS TF2 players aren't very high, so not only were these hats given to an incredibly small amount of people, they were given to people who don't give a crap about TF2. Not a single one of these hats was redeemed as far as I can tell, and I really doubt any Dota 2 players that received them are gonna suddenly pick up an interest in TF2 over a decade later. But that's just a hunch. Digging deeper into the rabbit hole also reveals other scrapped content. The game's code shows that there was originally going to be content restricted to Valentine's Day, similarly to the Halloween content. Lord knows what kind of spicy content you could only access on Valentine's Day. There was also a plethora of unused kill icons in the game. Some for reflecting certain projectiles, and some for specific instances such as getting a kill through a medi-beam with the 3rd degree. However, the most interesting scrapped icons relate to things that never even existed at all. There is an unused kill icon for the Shred Alert taunt of all things, which means at one point, not only could you shred the guitar, you could also shred your enemies to pieces. Other kill icons show weapons that never even existed, such as the Baleful Beacon, a scrapped lantern weapon for Pyro. There's also a kill icon for the Stratonic Swatter, a scrapped fly swatter weapon for Soldier, which even made an appearance in marketing material for Scream Fortress, but never made it into the game. Perhaps the most head-scratching of these kill icons is what appears to be a water balloon weapon. What class would have used the water balloon is unknown, but perhaps what's even more confusing is how a water balloon would even be lethal at all.
Unleash the thrill of summer with bunch of balloons!
These kill icons are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to scrap weapons though. There exist leaked arm animations for the Engineer, which heavily imply that at some point, a revolver-type weapon was being developed for him. And considering the Engineer is a gun-toting cowboy Texan, the fact that he has never been given a proper 6-shooter is disappointing, especially knowing how close he was. A leaked backpack icon also shows that at one point, Spy was gonna be given a fire-resistant suit. Tested in 2009, this item replaced the revolver, but granted Spy a 90% damage reduction to fire damage, which is absolutely insane. A second version was tested that was a little less busted, that instead just negated afterburn damage. But the item was scrapped altogether. No one knows why it was scrapped, but my guess is that the item was too powerful, and also the recent addition of cosmetics would make it hard to tell if a Spy was wearing the suit. A couple years later, the Spicicle was added to the game that serves a similar purpose, just more balanced to fight against. Throughout TF2's lifespan, many more weapons have been tested, but never released to the public. And very rarely do we get a peek behind the curtain. But that's exactly what happened with the Jungle Inferno update. Although the update only added 5 weapons, with 2 of them being fart jokes, within the files added were a whole slew of weapons that didn't make the cut. The leaked weapons were the Afterburner, a scrapped flamethrower for Pyro, the Assault Cannon, which was a primary for Heavy. Also, shout out to the guy on the TF2 subreddit that made mock-up stats for this item that don't make any sense within TF2. And in the comments, just straight up said they've never played TF2 and never want to. Also added were the handy PARDNER, which is unique in the fact that it would have allowed engineers to build a mini dispenser in the same vein as mini sentries, and took up the rarely used PDA slot. There was also the Specialist, a scrapped primary for Scout, the Spitfire, a scrapped flare gun for Pyro, and a scrapped sniper rifle called the Viewfinder. This one and the handy Pardner are unique in the fact that we actually know what purpose it would have served. The viewfinder would highlight enemies with the scope, presumably to track them behind walls, which sounds like a really neat concept. Fortunately, the same effect can be achieved by installing some handy-dandy wall hacks, so nothing of value was lost there. Perhaps my favorite of these scrapped items, and the one I'm most disappointed never saw an official release, is a scrapped spy melee called the Inside Jab. Instead of a knife, you are backstabbing people with a god-blessed firearm like a true American. But hey, screw new weapons, nobody cares about those. Did you know at one point Valve was toying with the idea of letting you paint weapons? I know I'd be rocking a full set of flesh-colored weapons. It's pretty common knowledge in the TF2 community at this point, but the ability to paint weapons very briefly slipped through the cracks one day. For just 5 minutes, the Cow Mangler 5000 was made paintable. The only paints you could apply to the Cow Mangler were the team paints, so sadly, there was never a flesh-painted Cow Mangler, as sad as that is. They have become incredibly rare collector's pieces, and it is said that there's only less than 10 in existence. So, if you want your Cow Mangler 5000 to be a slightly darker shade of red or blue, you must journey the seas, climb the highest mountaintop, and venture through the deepest ravine. And when you finally find one, probably pay like $10,000-ish. Now here's where I don my conspiracy cap and dive into where the line between fiction and reality gets a little fuzzy. At one point, the Vitasaw was also made paintable as well. There exists a Vitasaw painted orange, but pretty much any solid proof of its existence has been straight up 1984'd off the internet and lost to the sands of time. So you're just gonna have to take my word for it. Something that's a little less mysterious and more soul-crushingly disappointing is the exclusion of the maps Cactus Canyon and Asteroid. These two maps were added to the game as part of an early access feature, where players could playtest maps early and give their feedback to Valve, which was awesome. Cactus Canyon was a payload map and Asteroid was an entirely new game mode set on the moon, where you had to destroy the opposing team's robot minions. In typical Valve fashion, they worked on the maps for like 3 months, then shelved them and never mentioned them again, leaving TF2 fans in the dust. Valve delaying projects and being inefficient with the TF2 IP? They would never do that. But if losing 2 maps sucks, how about an entire game mode? Arena, Arena, Arena. Where art thou? For the unaware, Arena was a deathmatch-like game mode where every round both teams would spawn in, and whoever was the last team standing won, as deaths were permanent until the round ended. It was a refreshing way to play the game, and there was a whole bunch of exciting maps exclusive to the game mode. Unfortunately, with the arrival of casual mode, Arena was never included and basically got erased from the game, which is a real shame, because it was a fun way to play the game. It's gotten some love recently, with the Halloween map Graveyard being an Arena Light sort of experience, and Arena mode receiving an update for some reason in a July 22nd patch. But beyond that, Arena is a lost game mode most players will never experience. But in sheer scope, all of this pales in comparison to the biggest lost piece of TF2 content, the official TF2 TV show. Adult Swim and TF2 used to collaborate fairly often, whether that be the Robot Chicken TF2 sketch, the Venture Bros commercial, or the various Adult Swim themed cosmetics added to the game, including the one that just looks like a foreskin. Man, 2 foreskin jokes in one video, I'm on fire. The show would have been done in Source Filmmaker and aired on Adult Swim, but unfortunately, Valve couldn't meet deadlines, or really just be efficient at all. Wow, what a shocker. Valve not working efficiently and delaying projects. They would never do that. So unfortunately, all of the work done on the TF2 TV show was a waste and the partnership fell through. Just imagine the reality where Valve didn't suck and we actually got to see a TF2 TV show airing on a major network. It is rumored, however, that the expiration date short is actually the result of work done on the TF2 TV show. So at least we got that and the foreskin hat. If you want to look into it further, I highly recommend Tyler McVicker's video on the subject. And that's most of the things I'm going to cover, without even diving into pre-release content or other small omissions like the unused unusuals or the unused war paints in the game's files. If you want to learn more about those, I put links in the description to videos that cover them. But before I go, I've saved the strangest for last, The absolute most confusing and unnerving piece of lost content in TF2 history. I present to you CP Cloak, a map I can't even begin to describe and doesn't even have a known purpose. The map is a cube you're trapped in while all 9 mercs stare at you while more cubes linger in the distance. The only explanation I can find for this map with such fine scenery that looks like it's from a creepypasta is that it was used to test map skyboxes. So, have fun trying to sleep tonight with that piece of nightmare fuel lingering in your brain. Bye bye now.
I used to think my life was a frag movie, but now I realize it's silly casual Team Fortress 2 moments.